So I've been watching a lot of Avatar, and not just Avatar. I've been watching a lot of Avatar and a lot of Korra. I've never watched The Legend of Korra. I heard a lot of people didn't like it, so I just stayed away from it. But I just finished season one and started season two, and you know what? It's not that bad. I actually enjoy it a lot. I think it's really cool. But yeah, Avatar is great. I remember when I was younger, I never used to like Avatar. I never used to like Avatar because my older cousin always used to watch it, and I always wanted to watch like Batman or Spider Man or something. Um, but now that I'm grown up, I realize like it's actually a really great show, and I should have been watching it this whole time. I started actually watching it when I was about like I don't know 13, 14, 15, early teens, and I just fell in love with it. And it's really crazy that like after the last Airbender movie failed, like miserably, because no one liked it. That movie came out on my birthday. That movie came out on my birthday, and I was so excited, and it was so bad, and it broke my heart. Like I was at the height of my love for Avatar. I just got into it. I loved it. It was coming out on my birthday. I went to see it on my birthday and was heartbroken because it does that thing where like all these movies based on books or cartoons or video games or whatever, they just cram too much into it. Like this movie was like the entirety of season one minus a lot of really important stuff. Um, but yeah, that movie sucks. But even though that movie sucked so hard, there's still people, including myself, that love Avatar. And they're doing a new Netflix show, which is awesome. I'm going to watch the hell out of that. I can't wait for that. And also, they're doing a new like Avatar spin-off. So they did Avatar and they did The Legends of Korra, or The Legend of Korra, not Legends, but they did The Legend of Korra, and now they're doing another one which will focus on an earthbender, which is really cool. I love that they're doing it. I love that they're keeping this universe alive. Really great. Um, but we're not here to talk about Avatar, are we? No. We're here to talk about comics and the new comics that came out this week. But before we do, I do want to mention that the Ant-Man Quantumania trailer, the newest trailer, just dropped the other day. And I want to talk about it a little bit because I think the movie looks really good. But there's one very specific thing I want to talk about. The movie looks great. The trailer really looked awesome. I can't wait for this movie. Kang looks phenomenal. Jonathan Majors is gonna kill it. He already did kill it in Loki, but now he's playing actual Kang. I was gonna say Krang, but he's playing actual Kang, which is awesome. Now the thing I actually want to talk about because everybody has been absolutely losing their mind over it is MODOK. MODOK is in the movie, and at first they released a Funko Pop, and he has like a metal face, and people hated it. And now he's in this trailer, and you see the metal face, but you also see that that metal face is a mask, and underneath is what's his name? Corey Stoll? Is that the actor's name? I think so. Corey Stoll is playing MODOK, which is what a lot of people figured. But people are saying it looks bad, and I just want to say, I feel like MODOK was a character that Marvel created because he's like they just created a character that they knew no one would ever put in a movie because he looks too silly. They just wanted to create a silly character. I love MODOK. I think he's really cool, but he's also ridiculous looking. Like no matter how they do it, he's never going to look good in a movie. So just be happy that he's in a movie because he also doesn't look bad. I mean, he has the tiny arms, he has the big head, he's in a flying chair. Like, it's MODOK. Anyway, welcome to a brand new episode of the Pull List, a comic book podcast where we talk about the comics that came out last week, and I I don't spoil them, but I talk about them a little bit and then give you recommendations for things that are coming out next week. So we got kind of a light week, but also something really big came out. So I'm only going to talk about 5 books, and the books I'm going to talk about are Daredevil number 7, The Amazing Spider-Man number 17, Avengers War Across Time, Predator number 6, and Lazarus Planet Alpha number 1. So a decent assortment. I think this week has been, last week. I think last week has been a pretty decent week for comics. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with Avengers War Across Time because I thought it was fine. This book's written by Paul Levitz and drawn by Alan Davis, and it's okay. It's not. It's I don't know. Marvel's kind of doing this weird thing where they do continuations of comics that came out a long time ago. So this is a continuation of like an old Avenger story where Kang created a robot Spider-Man to fight the Avengers, and this Kang creates a robot Hulk to fight the Avengers, and that's pretty much it. They fight this robot Hulk for the entire issue, and you know what? It's fun. The art is fun. There's not much to the story, but you know what? Whatever. I mean, it is $5.99, and it is a longer issue, so you are getting what you paid for. But I don't know. I think it was just okay. I'll keep reading it because I enjoy Alan Davis's art, and I do want to see where this goes. But it just is kind of like a weird book. Like, I don't know why they're making it. Well, I know why, because Kang is going to be in the MCU, so of course they want to do everything Kang now. But I don't know. I don't really see a need for it, but I do think it is very fun. So if you don't want some Avengers stuff with Kang, definitely pick it up. $5.99, like I said. Or is it $6.99? I don't even know. It is $5.99. Next book I'm going to talk about, man, I know, I always say it. I always say that I shouldn't talk about The Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells and now Ed McGuinness. It was drawn by John Romita Jr., but now Ed McGuinness has joined The Amazing Spider-Man team. And you know what? His art's good. I can't blame him. Yeah, so I have not been very enthusiastic about this series, and I keep buying it. It's on my pull list. I read it week to week, or every other week to every other week, but I don't enjoy it. But I still need to talk about it because it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my guy, But this issue, it wasn't terrible, actually. I think there was a lot of fun stuff in this issue. Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson and other human characters have been teleported to Limbo, so you get like really weird. This is a weird book. It's really weird. You get to see Peter and JJ in Limbo, continuing their lives, but in like a Limbo, New York City. So there are demons and stuff that work at the Daily Bugle. It's so it's so weird. It's so silly. I said it's so willy. It is though. It's so willy. That's all I could say about it. Weird and silly. But it is fun. The art is really cool. And McGuinness, he knows what he's doing. So and you do get to see Spider-Man in his normal Spider-Man costume, not the horrible Norman Osborn Green Goblin Spider-Man costume. So that is really cool. But as I was enjoying this issue, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. The demons are funny. It's really weird, and I still don't love it, but it is really fun. And then at the very end, they do something. They introduce another character who's like the final page reveal, and I'm like, oh no. Like, this is just absurd. They have to know how absurd it is, because it is. This book is $3.99. Don't read it. No, I'm kidding. You could read it. You could love it. I hope you do. But I'm just reading it so I'm not lost for like when the next writer comes aboard Amazing Spider-Man, which I think is Joe Kelly. So that's promising. But I just don't want to be lost for when Zeb Wells leaves and he, destroys Peter Parker's life, and then the next writer has to fix it. I just want them to reveal the mystery they set up in issue 1 with Spider-Man in the crater, and they haven't. And I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you set that up if you're not going to pay it off? But it doesn't matter. I can't recommend this book, but definitely read it if you are a Spider-Man fan, if you're reading Dark Web. By the way, this is a Dark Web tie-in. I didn't say that, but we're in the Dark Web territory of comics right now. And it is definitely a dark time. All right, so now let's move on to our third book, and that is Daredevil number 7. This book is $3.99 or $4.99? This book is $3.99, and it's written by Chip Zdarsky, drawn by Marco Cicchetto and Raphael de la Torre. And wow, this book was fantastic. Like, it continues to be fantastic. Daredevil and the Punisher are like intertwined with each other story-wise. Daredevil is with the Fist, and the Punisher is leading the Hand. So they're at odds with each other once again, and this issue was really fantastic. Daredevil has kind of like a rehabilitation island going on with the Fist, where a bunch of villains like Stiltman and Speed Demon and Bullet especially, and those three, like they're in this book, but they do something with Bullet that I want to talk about in a minute. Um, but he's brought these villains, he broke them out of prison, he brought them to this island so they can rehabilitate and stop being so bad and maybe help in this war against the Hand. And it's just really fun. Also, Daredevil and Elektra are married, and King and Queen of the Fist, and it's just so cool. And Daredevil and Elektra's costumes, they match, and they're super awesome. I love this book, and this new issue it was great. Um, Daredevil and the characters I mentioned before, like Speed Demon and Stiltman and Bullet, they go to North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, and they just help out the people. There's some authorities or just police officers who are just being assholes to citizens, and they help out. And it's really cool. And Bullet is this old Daredevil villain who is just kind of like a strong guy. He runs. Um, and here, they do something like really touching with him, and I really enjoyed it. And so Bullet has a son, Lance, and he really wants to be with his son, and he likes the idea of the Daredevil Rehabilitation Island, but he feels like he needs to be with his son because prisons, you go to prison when you're a bad person. Um, but he says something like, prisons do a good job keeping a father away from his son. And, it's good when the father is actually a criminal, and Bullet is a criminal, but you really feel like he cares for his son. And that's just so cool. It was so good. It was so good, very heartfelt, and I'm so ready for the next issue. I can't recommend Daredevil enough. Chip Zdarsky just knows what he's doing. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. I just really, really dig it. And the art's great. Marco Cicchetto and Rafael De La Torre, amazing. Really great stuff. I love how big and curly Elektra's hair is. Like, it used to be that way, and then they stopped doing that, and now it's back to being that way, and it's just perfect. She looks great. Daredevil looks great. He has the big beard. Really cool. I cannot wait to see how this all wraps up with the whole Punisher leading the Hand stuff. It's going to be like a huge new event, probably. I'm super excited. Okay, so now let's talk about Predator 6. This is the conclusion, the final issue of Ed Brisson and Kev Walker's Predator miniseries. And I know I haven't really talked too in depth about this series, but honestly, I really enjoyed it. Overall, all 6 issues, I had a really great time reading it every month. I think it was monthly. And it's finally wrapped up. And I think it was a pretty solid ending. Again, I'm not gonna spoil it. I want you guys to read it because I think I'm not the biggest Ed Brisson fan. Not that I have anything against the guy. Just things he's written have never really stuck to my head. But overall, I really enjoyed this. And I know they're doing a new Predator series. They're relaunching it at #1, and I know he's tied to it, and that's really great. I'm definitely going to read it. I think there's going to be a different artist. I don't know, I don't remember who the artist is, but I'm definitely going to miss Kev Walker because his art is very fun, very dynamic. I also really like the colors a lot. And so this, like I said, this is the big climactic battle. Everything from issue 1 has been leading to here, and I don't think it disappoints. I think it's definitely, you're definitely going to have to read it if you've been intrigued by this series so far. If you've enjoyed it, you're definitely want to go see how it ends, and it definitely sets up, you know, sets up what could happen, I guess, or just like, if they ended it here, like if the character of Theta doesn't return for the next Predator series, that's fine because it kind of ends in a way, and minor spoilers here, but it ends in a way that's very much like, and the adventure continues. So whether we see her or not, you could imagine what she's up to. And I really like that. I think it was really great. I will definitely recommend it. This book is $3.99. Great team, great looking book, good action, a lot of really great stuff. And the final book we're going to talk about today is Lazarus Planet Alpha #1. This book is $5.99, written by Mark Waid, Jean Lewin Yang, and drawn by Billy Tan and Riccardo Federici. And so I really didn't know what this was going to be. And so if you're jumping into this, I don't think it was bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. But if you're going to read it, and I will recommend it, I'm just going to say that now. I'll recommend it. But if you're going to read it, you should probably read the things that came before it. So you're going to want to read Joshua Williamson's Robin run. You're probably going to want to read Shadow War. You're probably going to want to read Dark Crisis. And you're going to want to read Batman vs. Robin, which is also written by Mark Waid. And probably Batman Superman, the world's finest book, also written by Mark Waid. Because this book, even though it says number 1, it just launches you in it. And that's a problem for me, at least, because I read Joshua Williamson's Robin. I'm not fully caught up. I read a little bit of Batman vs. Robin. And I read Dark Crisis. And that's it, you know? So maybe, like, I bet that at the end of Batman vs. Robin, it leads into this. But I didn't finish that, so I kind of had no idea what's really going on. And it does make me want to go back and read that, just so I have a better understanding. But for what this book is, I think it was good. I think it was solid. I think it's kind of crazy that as soon as Dark Crisis ends, we're getting launched right into another epic event. I think it's just a little too much. They should slow their roll a little bit because it's just getting to be too much. But that being said, what happens in this issue itself, I thought was very cool and I enjoyed it. So you got Damian and you got Batman and a whole bunch of different characters like Power Girl and Supergirl and Cyborg and Blue Beetle and Zatanna and eventually Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing. They all join in. And it is very cool. I do enjoy these characters. I love seeing them work together. They all split up into teams. So, like, to be completely honest, just because I didn't read what came before it, I don't really know what's going on in this book. I can tell you that the demon Nezha, I think that's how you say it. I don't know. That's how it's spelled. Nezha. He possessed Damian, took over Damian in Batman vs. Robin, and it was a big deal. He was created in Mark Waid's World's Finest run. But so he is like the main antagonist, and you got some characters going after him, and then you got some characters going after, what's his name? King Firebull or something ridiculous. So King Firebull turned Lazarus Island into a volcano, which is like kind of absurd and dumb. And because of that, there's like these crazy storms and rains that are going on. So the heroes are trying to figure that out. Like it's really bizarre. It's really weird, but I think it's fine. It's enjoyable. I don't know if I'm gonna keep reading it though, unless I go back and read like Batman vs. Robin and finish up Joshua Williamson's run. Like there's just it's really jarring to just jump into it because there's so little context that you have that they have to try to give you. And characters will say what happened and you're just like, okay, you could say that all you want, but I don't it's not sticking to my head. But yeah, that's just probably about enough of the story I'm going to get into. I do recommend it. I do think you should read it, especially if this is like the new epic event launching us into the dawn of DC, even though Dark Crisis was the epic event launching us into the dawn of DC, but whatever. Yeah, I think the art in this book was good. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I do think it was good. I like the colors a lot in this book. But yeah, it's pretty much all I could say about it. I had no idea what this was going to be, and now that I know what it's going to be, I'm hesitant to say excited, but I'll probably keep reading it. So, so now this is the part of the show where I'm going to give you recommendations for books that are coming out next week. And we got a pretty simple week next week. There's only 3 books I'm picking up. The first one is Punisher #9 by Jason Aaron. This book is $4.99. I was just talking about the Daredevil run and my feelings on how much I enjoy it and how much I enjoy Punisher. So, of course, I'm going to read this. Next up is Invincible Iron Man #2 by Jerry Dugan. I'm very excited to see where this series goes. I'm not the hugest Iron Man fan, but recently, lately, after the last series and at the start of this one, I've just been on an Iron Man kick. And I know Ironheart is going to be in this issue, so that should be pretty cool. I'm excited to see where this goes. And of course, my most anticipated book of next week is Nightwing number 100. This book is, of course, written by Tom Taylor and a couple different artists like Scott McDaniel, Eddie Barrows, Mikel Yannon, and it's gonna be so cool. The covers already look amazing. This book is gonna be $6.99, so it's definitely gonna be action packed. A lot of pages. Oh, it's 56 pages. That's pretty intense. But yeah, so I'm so excited to read that. And I'm so excited to talk about it. So thank you all so much for watching. I know this was probably my longest video. Yeah, this is the longest video, the longest episode of the pull list. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next week with more comics.